Is Marcus and Terry with you today on this wonderful November morning. Hopefully, Terry is able to breathe there in the Bay Area, because I know you guys got like a lot of fires. Are they pretty close to you, or are you doing all right there?
They are 170 miles away, and but the air is going this way, so it's really bad here. As
Yeah,
far as I've become psycho for looking at the Weather Channel on my phone, and it's been unhealthy for the past 7, 8 days now.
yeah.
So
Now, do you still ride your bike, or no?
no, no,
Okay,
no, no, just a short walk, shortened dog walk, and try to stay outside, stay out of outside as much as possible.
got it. I think there's a fire around here, but nothing like California. It's weird in Florida. Sometimes it smells like a fire, but it's not. It's the swampy areas when it gets cool. They give
Huh.
off this weird, like, sulfury smell. So that's kind of weird. All right, Nilda, good to see you here from Chicago. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be just kind of chatting with you guys, getting your questions and your thoughts about what it's like being sober going through the holidays, because I know that's a big deal. Now, for me, fortunately, when I got sober, I was kind of isolated from my family for a while, but we did have some interactions, and it was a little bit difficult at first. Luckily, the holidays for me came, I think, 6 months after I got sober, maybe even more than that. So I had some time under my belt. But we want to talk about what really happens, like what kind of deals, what kind of stuff you're dealing with, what feelings come up, and how to deal with it. So, Terry, if you want to start us off, if you have any thoughts about that, we got Thanksgiving coming up, we got Christmas coming up. We're gonna have to see family, and I don't know if your family's like mine, but there's some really interesting characters that are very difficult to avoid, even if you try. So,
Absolutely. Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, all those holidays, they can be hard for an alcoholic, especially since if you have just a little bit of sobriety, you've kind of developed this way of living sober, and then the holidays will throw in this curveball where
mhm.
you have these things that you're not used to, like all the Christmas parties and you have to deal with family that you normally don't deal with, that maybe they drink too much or maybe they just drink, and that might be a trigger for you because you have to go, and you've been avoiding alcohol situations for a while. It's a tough thing to get through, but we have a bunch of tips that you can use, and I use these tips through the holidays, and I try to stay out of those dangerous situations as much as possible, but they happen. So we have to learn how to deal with them.
And I think another thing that is interesting is just the family trigger itself. I remember early on, my dad was a big trigger for me. He doesn't drink. I think he has wine once in a while, but he's not a drinker. Like he's not like he would have no problem not drinking around me if I asked him to.
Right.
But that wasn't the trigger. The trigger was being around him. And it was interesting because it's like we have this set up thing in our mind of how we're supposed to act around our family. And it's a lot like we talk about in the letters, where it's kind of a facade. It's kind of like a projection we're giving that's not really us, which makes us feel anxious because we're not really being true to ourselves, and makes us feel like we have to live up to something, makes us feel like we could be hiding something from people. And a lot of things get involved, and a lot of feelings will come up, especially around family, because, I mean, let's face it, if you look at most people who drink or have issues, a lot of them have coexisting issues with like family trauma and, weird upbringings and things like that. And I think one of the biggest tips is to remember that you are in control, right? You're in control of what you do. Now, if you drink, you're not in control anymore, right? That's what gets us into trouble.
Right.
But if you're not drinking, you're in control. And you're also in control to say what you want to do and what you don't want to do based on your well being, right? Because your well being is so important. That's like the most important thing. If you're not around, you're not going to enjoy anything, and they're not going to enjoy you, and nothing's going to happen. So your well being needs to be the first and foremost thing. And if you need to bow out of a Thanksgiving or a Christmas, right, it's not the end of the world. Sure, people, oh, what do you mean you're not going to come for the damn ham? And it's like, just chill. I'm doing my thing. And sometimes that is a good thing to do. Just be careful, because if you end up alone on a holiday, that's also a trigger to drink. So what I would do is I would really look at taking care of yourself first. Okay, that's first and foremost. Take care of yourself, and second, start to challenge the norm. Right? What's the norm? Oh, we have to go to mom's for Thanksgiving because that's what we always do. Well, if you have a fight with mom and you don't get along with her and you want to drink every time you see her face, probably not a good idea. Right?
Right.
Does that make sense, Terry? Like, did you have any of those issues when you were getting sober with your family? Did you have to like bow out of anything or?
Well, yes. Well, okay. So for me, when I first got sober, it was about, let me see, 5 months sobriety before I hit, maybe 4 months I was sober when I hit Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
And for me, my family does not live where I live, so I did not visit them, and that was the easiest way for me to bow out. But my family, my brother and my dad are sober, and my mom really didn't drink, so that wasn't a problem for me. But I'm in catering first of all, so I deal with a lot of Christmas parties. You know,
Mhm.
starting December, those first 3 weeks are parties almost every night that we cater,
Mhm.
and I also have sort of my substitute family here. They are drinkers. And I had to do exactly what you're saying is take care of myself. I had to, on some of the parties where I realized that there was going to be a lot of drinking, I just didn't go. I didn't know what was going to trigger me in those first 6 months. I didn't know what I was going to be um, able to handle if I was going to be around, a bunch of people doing shots or whatever, or just drinking their mimosas in the morning.
Mhm.
I didn't know if that would be okay for me, so I just ended up trying to bow out. For things like Christmas parties, one of the things I would do is I show up to the Christmas party right when it's supposed to start. I don't do that fashionably late thing. And, you can kind of tell when people are starting to get their buzz on. And I was usually, and I still am, usually one of the first people to go. That's a real important thing to do. Um, another trick that I use is I bring what I'm going to drink with me. I don't try to rely on them having water or something nice that I'll like. I bring something that I'm gonna
Yeah.
like soda water with cranberry juice or whatever. I bring something that's non-alcoholic that I know I'll enjoy and I can enjoy it just as much as a alcoholic drink back when I drank. So
Yeah.
those are a couple of the simple tips, but yeah.
I think another one too is for some reason here in America, they put election right before Thanksgiving, and it's like it's a kind of a dirty trick. It's like you're gonna get everyone fighting at the dinner table about politics. And I remember I was well into sobriety, probably 2.5 years into sobriety, and I had gone to a Thanksgiving in Alabama to meet some family and some family I hadn't talked to in like 20 years, which that could be a big trigger. And so I went up there, and I was anxious as it was the day that we were supposed to see these people. And I was a little bit anxious. And I remembered to myself that I don't have to talk about anything I don't want to talk about. And right out of the gate, I mean, if you guys haven't figured out my political views by now, just pay a little bit more close attention. You'll hear them in there. And my uncle comes to me and he's like, "Did you vote for Trump?" And I'm like, "I'm so not talking politics right now." And he's like, "Come on, man, you had to have." And I'm like, "I'm not talking it because I know you asked me that question because you know what my answer is." And, the ability to not engage, the ability to say, I just choose not to talk about that. Because in reality, when you talk about these things, maybe you're talking about the black sheep of the family, or did we lose our stream?
I'm seeing it.
Okay, it just dropped. I think our stream's still live. Are we still live, guys? Give us a thumbs up or a happy face or something if we're still live. It dropped here for a second. Check my internet speed real quick. But yeah, the ability to not talk about something you don't want to talk about because you're in control, and that's what I think is the most important thing to realize is you are in control. And throughout my life, I mean, I'm not that old. I turned 39 on Tuesday or
Happy
Wednesday, something
birthday.
like that. Thank you. I think it's Wednesday. What was it? Or no, the 13th, whenever that was. And I look at it, and in my life, I don't know what it's like for people that are way up there in age or whatnot, but I always felt like I was at the mercy of other people. Like I had to respond if you asked me a question. I had to engage if people were talking about it. I had to teach you my thoughts. I had to get you. I had to convince you to think the way I think. And through sobriety, I learned we really don't need that. Like it doesn't matter. I could have gone through it, and in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I'm quite a bit smarter than my uncle. I have these things called books, and I could have showed him a thing or two, and I could have gotten out charts and told him why I thought what I thought, and it would have been a big old fight, and it would have been a big old argument, and nothing good would have come of it. He'd still be,
Right.
being the way he is and everything like that, and I'd still be the way I am. So what's the benefit when you have your sobriety at risk? Because that's easy something to where you could be like, well, I got in an argument with my uncle, and screw it all, I'm gonna go drink. He pissed me off, and that's the kind of thing where it's gonna weaken your defenses, and you got to go in there strong and say, you know what, I'm an adult, I'm in charge of what I say. It doesn't matter. I remember one time someone was like, well, I'm your uncle, you have to obey me, and I'm like, no, I don't. I'm sorry, I'm 30 something years old. I don't have to. And that's an interesting thing, because a lot of times we still feel like we are that child. We still feel like, we're not superior. I forget. In superior? What is the word for that? But you know what I mean? Like, you feel like that.
Yes.
Now, did you ever feel like that? Because I know for me being short, for those of you guys that don't know, I'm like 5'1" on a good day. I never feel like an adult around the adults, because I think it's like an ingrained I'm short thing, but it's getting better now.
Well,
Did you ever have that?
I had a lot of insecurities when I was drinking, and maybe that was part of the reason I drank. I haven't really determined that or not yet. After 4.5 years of sobriety, I'm not sure why, but that's the drinking is what I would do in the holidays to handle other people that I thought were superior than me. They had the better job. They had the more successful life. At least that's what my perspective was. And so I drank, and that would push all those uneasy feelings down, and I'd be fine. I have to say one thing about the holidays. When I was deep in my alcoholism, I hated the holidays. The holidays. I've heard people that are sober now, and they said they liked the holidays because then that meant that they could drink that day that they normally wouldn't drink. For me, it was a matter of I didn't like the holidays because I had to drink less because I had to go deal with people. So I had to try to sober up a bit, where I just wanted to sit around and drink that handle of vodka all day. I did not look for.
Yeah. I think we are. I think it might be Skype's connection. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, cool. A little bit of technical stuff. I think it's on Skype's end, but yeah, that's another thing too, because I always found myself unable to control my amount of drinking when I would go to these family things, because I
Right.
get the trigger, and I'd go nuts. And most people didn't pay attention until it was like too late, and I was like, okay, yeah, I can't drive home, kind of deal.
Right.
Um, But be mindful, be there. Like THC Gamer says, I honestly don't go around gatherings. I'll send a holiday card and celebrate in my own way. I guess I don't trust myself, but always thank myself in the morning. Thanks, you guys. Yeah, exactly. You don't have to do what you don't want to do. Don't let anyone pressure you to something that's going to put you at risk, especially if you're new to sobriety. Like Bashir's here. He's got 21 days, and that's awesome.
Right on.
And that's a difficult time. Like 21 days, that means at Thanksgiving, you're going to be right about a month. And, who knows what the family stuff's like. I know for me, if I had gotten sober and then went straight to a family Thanksgiving party, it would have been really difficult, because they all drink. And then you have to admit, I'm an alcoholic or whatever. And then there's the gossip element and all the bullshit. And it's like sometimes it's better just to bow out, or just to change the conversation. Um, you know. So hopefully that
Right.
makes sense.
There's some tools that you can use when you're trying to get through the holidays sober, and they're pretty important. One of them is just basically have a backup plan.
Yeah.
And a lot of this comes down to planning your holiday activity that you're gonna. Let's say you have this the work Christmas party, and everybody gets hammered at this Christmas party, and you have the backup plan. Yeah, you need to show up because the boss is expecting you there. So, like I said earlier, you show up on time, you leave early, you make your appearance. You wait until dessert or whatever the presents are passed out, and then you politely take off before things get dangerous to you. And you brought that drink and the drink, that non-alcoholic drink that you want, but you think about you try to think about all the possibilities and how you're going to handle each one, like what type of what things may happen. You have your coworker that used to talk about drinking, and now you're there with him at the Christmas party, and he's like, "Let's do shots." So yeah, let's do just like you did before, and so you have a game plan as to how you're going to handle that situation. And then you can also like designate a person that's also sober or that's supportive of your sobriety that you can call when things get difficult.
Or bring
That's
with you.
Yeah, bring them with you. Yeah, absolutely. My wife has she does drink, but she's one of those half a glass of wine every other day people,
Hmm.
and I bring her always. Well, I bring her because she's my wife, but also because she's helped support me in the difficult situations. And there's a whole bunch of tricks that you can use. I already said to have something on hand. I wrote down a few over here, and let me just bring.
Okay. Hopefully our Skype clears up here in a second. But yeah, that's a really important one is looking at a backup plan. Like, what are you going to do if uh, an argument breaks out? What are you going to do if you feel like drinking? What are you going to do if those cravings and anxiety gets bad? Have that backup plan of like, okay, I can leave, I can do this, I can call someone, I can connect with someone, and really look at it and say, well, how can I bow out, or how can I maybe avoid a certain topic or conversation? And if you guys have questions as well, if there's anything that's on your mind as far as like you're worried about going into the holidays sober, type those in the box. Let us know what you're thinking and what kind of questions you have, so that we can help you through them. Because this is about, I want you guys to come back after Thanksgiving and be like, hey man, I'm sober still, and that's good. So yeah, put your questions in, and it looks like we've got some new people on here, which is good. And we'll wait to see if Terry comes back here. Let's see, reconnecting. Looks like it's reconnecting, so we'll wait for that. But yeah, that's a big one. And also remember that, again, you are in charge of what you do. You're in charge of what you talk about. I find, for me personally, it's better to out myself. Like, just come out and be like, yeah, I'm an alcoholic. I don't drink anymore. Now, does that mean that you owe people an explanation? No, it doesn't. Doesn't at all, right? You don't owe them an explanation of why you drank or what happened or anything like that. You could just say, hey, I don't drink anymore, and that's that. That, for me, helps. I remember when I was first sober, I would go to the bars to get takeout food, because we always like takeout, and you'd sit in the bar to get your takeout food. And I remember the bartender knew me, and she would bring my drink over, and I was like, hey, you know what? I'm not drinking anymore. I'm an alcoholic. And ever since then, she didn't bring my stuff. So, that was a good thing to do. And you can do the same thing with your family if you're comfortable with it. If you're not comfortable with it, find some other thing that you can do. I'm going to try to get Terry back on here. Let's see if we can call him here. And kind of look at that and say, hey, look, you know what? I'm gonna out myself, or I'm gonna stand my ground and stand up to stuff, which is cool. All right, Mr. E says he's watching from Florida. Good, we're broadcasting from Florida. I'm in Florida. Terry's in California. So good to have a fellow Floridian. It looks like it's cooling down a little bit here, but it's very nice. All right, THC Gamer says, thanks for your response. Okay, why is this? Let's see if this one still works. There we are. Are we back?
Oh, I just had a whole 20 minutes there. No. Lost my entire list. I have no idea where I got cut off.
Okay, no problem. Let's see if we can get this screen in here. Okay, yeah, so you were talking about, I think you went over the first tip, which was, did it freeze up again? Or are you just standing really
I'm
still?
here, but you don't see me.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
so we can hear you. All right, cool. So, nothing's wrong with Terry. It's the screen. Don't worry about it. Okay, THC Gamer says he's 22 days sober today. Awesome. Good to have you here. He subscribed to the channel a long time ago. Good. Awesome. I'm glad this stuff helps you. That's why we do this. And he's watching from San Jose. I actually moved from the Bay Area about 3 years ago, and Terry's still in the Bay Area, so that's cool. All right, Terry, so if you have those others, I think we just got through the first one, which was like have a backup plan.
Yeah, have a backup plan. Let me go back and let's see where we at. So, plan your holiday season. The better plan you have is it's going to allow you to be able to handle those things that just come up at the last second. If you have your plan, you know what you're going to do. You have your non-alcoholic drink you're going to bring with you. You have somebody that you're going to call that may be sober as well, or somebody that's supporting you. Have you can do that. So this is part of your plan. Maybe you're going to go to a meeting or get on a chat with us or something like that, and be able to do that. You can do it from your phone, or you can find a meeting from your phone. There's lots of meetings. Actually, during the actual holidays, there's usually things called alkathons where there's meetings all day, all night, because they know a lot of people need to get away from that family situation just for a break. You ask that family and friends for support, and hope, and they can, they being open with your sobriety. They know you're trying to stay sober, so they're going to help you. They may help you a little too much. You may, but that's okay. At least you can stay sober.
Yeah.
You try to exercise, or get out, have something else that you do that keeps you busy, keeps you from getting into that depression mode. Stay away from. Sometimes you just got to say no to the Christmas party. Sometimes this party is in a bar. It's all they do is drink massive amounts. It's the hip bar. Maybe you need to not go to that party. Or you just pop in and say hi, or something like that. You can write out that gratitude list. A lot of people have problems with the depression, being depressed during holidays, and just kind of try and each day go over what you're grateful for today. Try to think of something new, just 2 or 3 things. You don't even have to write them down. Just think about it when you wake up and you're having your coffee or tea, and that can help a lot. It doesn't seem like it would help, but it's amazing what that can do to your mindset and get you into that positive mindset.
Definitely.
You can volunteer. You can work at a food bank, or passing out food at the shelter or something like that. Those are people that are having difficulty, and that gets you out of that thinking about yourself and the poor me syndrome. And that can help you a lot.
And it'll show you, because a lot of the ones I used to do volunteer work with church years ago, and a lot of people that are homeless and need food are alcoholics or previous alcoholics. And what it'll do is it'll give you a solitude, I think is the right word, about your drinking. You're going to look at it and be like, wow, I can be like that at the drop of a hat. Right? I could lose everything due to alcohol. I've almost been there before. And it'll kind of give you like a reverence for it, like a respect for, hey, you know what? This isn't just something to mess around with. This isn't something cute. It's a big deal, and this could end badly. So I find that works, and I find that going to meetings actually helps me with that as well, because when you see people who are really going through it, it's like, wow, that's where I was, and I don't want to go back there. and you can also help them. So that's definitely a good tip as well.
Absolutely. Um,
Um, Now, will we be? Are you able to come on Thursday morning next week?
I am not in town, so no, I
Okay.
can't.
Okay. If I can run it on my own, I will. Depending on what our time is like, I'll try to do one in the morning. That way, we give you guys some, a good
Right.
vibe before your Thanksgiving. So I will try to do that. If you guys are gonna be here and you want that, type what date is that? What date's Thanksgiving? We're looking at the
23rd?
22nd, I think it is. So
22nd.
type 22
Yeah.
in the box if you guys want me to come and do a talk Thanksgiving morning just to kind of get you guys up and going. Type a 22 in the comments box. That way I know. So yeah, we were on volunteer was one of the ones you left off on.
Oh, I just got rid of it. But yeah. Let me see. Hold on. I got rid of my list. But
Okay, no
let's see,
problem.
what do we have? Have a backup plan. Have someone to call. Have a list of meetings ready. Look
Hmm.
for an alkathon. Be open with your sobriety. Exercise. I can't spell. Gratitude list. Volunteer.
Hmm.
Um, and then some of the ones I mentioned earlier, which was have a go-to non-alcoholic cocktail. That's a real
Good
important
one.
one for
Hmm.
me, at least. Um, avoid the halt. Avoid being hungry, angry, lonely, tired. It's a difficult thing to avoid in the holidays. Just do the best you can, and try to be aware. And when you find yourself being hungry or angry or lonely or tired,
Hmm.
and deal with it. Eat when you need to. Take a rest if you need to.
Yeah.
You don't have to get everything done right now. Try to kick back and relax. That's a really important thing to do.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, and slow down. Like one of the things I learned probably around 2 years into sobriety is you can actually slow down time. The clock's not going to change, so don't be looking for that. We're not, esoteric people or whatever it's called. I don't know the word for that. But you can actually slow down time internally for yourself. And one of the things I like to tell myself when I get overwhelmed or I get in a situation that's difficult is that I have all the time in the world right now. And what that means to me is right now in this moment, I have all the time in the world. I don't need to win an argument with someone. I don't need to flip out about being hungry. Sometimes I'll feel something in my body and I'll be like, man, I really want to drink. And it's just hunger, right? And obviously, if you down 400 calories of beer or alcohol, that subsides the hunger, which makes your brain and your body think, wow, I need alcohol. When it's actuality, no, have a piece of toast, you
right.
know? And little things like that really make a difference. Like I just learned the other day, I started going to the gym again, and she's like, "You get nauseous because you have yogurt before you go to the gym. Don't have dairy." And I started having peanut butter toast, and it's like night and day different. And I
Oh,
didn't know these things, and knowing these little things, like, hey, you know what? When you're tired, like I found out that my peak state, like when I'm most productive, is when I'm a little bit tired, right? When I'm like super energetic, my mind's going everywhere. I'm not that productive. But when I'm a little bit tired, I actually like the feeling, which would make sense why I would like drinking, right? Because it kind of ties you down, slows you down. But watch for that. If you're lonely, holidays are a big time to feel lonely. Even if you're in a big group or you got a big family, you could still feel lonely around a lot of people.
right.
So watch that, and one of the things I learned is it's okay to be with your feelings. Like, it's okay to be lonely. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be tired and hungry. It's okay to
Yep.
be sad, happy. It's not going to kill you, but drinking over it might, right? Drinking over it's going to make it a lot worse. So watch that. Um, Johnny's got a good question. He says he's 21 days sober. Congrats on that. That's awesome. He says he's feeling great. And he said, I may have missed it, but what's your thought on non alcoholic beer at these things? Like if I go to Thanksgiving and I want a non alcoholic beer, I'm going to leave that up to you. For me personally, I think it's a bad idea because every time I've had non alcoholic beer, I always wanted real beer. It was kind of like I was cheating myself and I knew it and it didn't work. It just didn't work that way. It's like not going to happen. That's for me personally. I know there's lots of other alcoholics that they drink non-alcoholic beer and they're fine with it. Personally, for me, I'm like, I gotta have the real thing. That's not gonna work for me. Terry, what are your thoughts on maybe sending
Well,
a non-alcoholic one at Thanksgiving or whatnot?
I remember when I was trying to quit, so I was still an active alcoholic. I tried switching to non-alcoholic beer and I ended up drinking like 12 of them. Because there is, in most non-alcoholic beers, I don't know if it's all of them, but there is 0.5%. Take a look at the label. So, is that enough to trigger you to crave more? I don't know. That's something that's something for you to decide. But me personally, that's enough for me to stay away from it.
Well, and the
And
way my mind works too is like, well, I already had point 0.5. I might as well have a real one.
exactly,
So
exactly.
and also, me and Terry's stories are very similar with the non-alcoholic. How we started trying to mess with it before we got sober. And for Johnny, he says he's 21 days sober. I'm guessing you're probably of the same mindset we had back then, where it's like, hey, you're 21 days, you're feeling good, maybe a non-alcoholic. I don't want to see it throw you for the loop like it did us. And again, I'm not saying we're the same or anything. I'm just saying 21 days is the same. So watch for that. I wouldn't mess with it, but again, that's up to you.
Right, and you have these other psychological aspects of a non-alcoholic beer, like the fact that you're going to be drinking this non-alcoholic beer, and it's making your mind think it's having a beer.
Hmm.
So maybe that can be a trigger as well.
Yep.
But the other thing is you're at a party with a non-alcoholic beer, and it looks just like another beer, and you put it down, and you pick up a real beer by accident, and you drink that. There's to me, it's just not worth it.
Well, and isn't the feeling the same? Like if I'm having a non-alcoholic beer at a thing, it's to appear normal like everyone else. Like I'm,
Right.
you know, but like we can't trick ourselves. Us alcoholics are like, we're good at tricking everyone else, but we suck at tricking ourselves. And I know for me, I'd be like, well, this doesn't really count. So if you're gonna do that, you might as well just have something else. I find that tonic water is good. I like tonic water. Um, and you can get it at the bar with a little highball glass or whatever they call them, and you can have that. That's what I like to do. So figure out what you like, figure out your go-to, so that your default doesn't kick in. Because I want you guys to remember, your default mode, your brain is conditioned to one alcohol. Like you go to Thanksgiving, you have the wine. It's what you do. I mean, it's on TV. It's everywhere, and your brain's like that. Also with the non-alcoholic stuff, think about I think is it the olfactory? Is that what they call like the sense of smell and all that?
Oh yeah, right.
Um, that is very, very important. I mean, the smell of it. Like just last night, we were doing something in the house, and I think there was a piece of fruit that was like a little old, and the kids were like, "Hey, I smell beer," and they hadn't smelt it in like 5 years since I've been drinking, and they're looking over like, I'm like, no, I didn't have anything. I just some piece of fruit or something. But that's a very, very important thing to look at, is the fact that your brain is going to be triggered by the smell of it, even if there's nothing in it, even if you don't drink it. I remember years ago I was outside the grocery store and someone had dropped a box of beer and it was smelling up the whole highway. And for a brief minute I was like, man, that smells good. That
Right.
even though it was like, and you think about how crazy alcoholics are, because it's like, it was 90 something degrees out in Florida in the summer, and it probably smelled better, like worse than it smelled bad. But here I was saying, wow, that smells good. I'd like some of that. And it's like, no. So be careful with that, and watch what your mind does, and listen to your mind, right? Slow things down, pause, reflect. Someone gets mad at you, pause, reflect, be like, okay, well, what's the deal here? Let's look at this rationally. Try not to be quick to jump to things.
One more thought about that before we move on is, there's a lot of people on this webinar right now that are fairly new to sobriety. And one thing I did, at least for the first 6 months, even longer, still kind of that way, but I drew my last drunk basically almost killed me. So they say alcoholism is progression. So what's worse than almost killing me? So it's going to progress worse. So I cannot drink. So with that in mind, when I first got sober, I did everything I possibly could to not drink. And
Hmm.
that meant no shortcuts, no trying to take an easier way out. It's what I did. That was the basis of all of my actions. Was I'm going to do whatever it takes. I don't care if I don't want to go talk to this person or don't want to do this. I'm going to do it. And that's what allowed me to get through that early sobriety. And I've learned what I can back off on now, but I still don't take shortcuts.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, and it's really important because you're in charge of your sobriety. No one else is. You can't blame anyone else for it. You can't make anyone else own it. If you get in an argument or you see someone you don't like or you get uncomfortable feelings, you're in charge of what you do with them, right? So we're putting the control back in your mind, in your hands, right? And that's one of the things that, for me as an alcoholic, when I was drinking, I was a victim of everything. It's like, oh, the booze made me do it. This made me do it. The government made me do it. The TV made me do it. Everyone but myself. And we got to look at that and say, hey, look, you know what? It is me. It is me choosing to do this. It is me choosing to get excited about this. It is me choosing to go after it. Now, also, we got to keep into consideration that your mind's hijacked by alcohol, so you got to find a way out of it as well. Johnny B. or Calcamp says 4 days sober and he feels great. Thanks for the videos and chats. Good. Glad you like them.
right on.
If you guys do want to support what we're doing here, go over to talksober.com. Click on the Get Help Now, is it? Or sign up or something like that at the
Yes.
top. And then it's like a little monthly thing. What we do is we transcribe the videos so that you guys have the transcriptions. We have notes written about them. We have MP3s, which is a good thing. Like if you go in there and you download those MP3s and put them on your phone, listen to them on the way to Thanksgiving. I did this for years. I still do actually today. I know I'm going to be in an uncomfortable situation. I'll fill my mind with the good stuff. That way when I get there, my mind, it's in there, right? And it's there's a great title of a book. The book is also good, but the title's awesome. By a psychotherapist. His name was Milton Erickson, and the book title was My Voice Will Go With You, or My Words Will Go With You, something like that. And it's important because words do go with you, right? And we have to look at that, and we have to say, what words are we going to take with us? Am I going to take my drunk brain with me to this and just be completely defenseless because I'm taking that? Or am I going to fill it with good things? Am I going to listen to a talk from Terry or Marcus or my favorite talk person, or an AA talk, or a Bible talk if that's what you're into, or a psychology or philosophy? Put something else in your mind. Now, Michael, do you want to take Michael's question there?
Sure. My mom has lost her husband, daughter, and mother, my stepdad, sister, and granny. Okay, I got it. Plus, she had to sell her home and is terribly depressed and overwhelmed. I'm not sure if drinking is more helpful or not at this point. I know the world won't stop until I can get sober, but this is overwhelming. And Michael, I think you're saying, and the for yourself, you can get the world won't stop until you get sober. Anyways, yeah, that's probably the best thing you can do, because it sounds like your mom. Sorry to hear all that's going on. That's a tough situation. It sounds like your mom needs a lot of help, needs your support, and it's hard to support when you're not sober yourself. So do what you can to get that way. If you need to go to a doctor, that's the best. It depends on how much you're drinking, but detox is a dangerous thing, and the first step is to go to a doctor and have them tell you what you need to do. Well, the first step is actually going to the doctor, making that decision to go and going. It's a difficult thing, but if you really want to get sober, it's pretty much a necessary step.
Yeah. And, when has drinking ever helped any
Right.
situation? Like, it might have dampened feelings, but I don't think it's ever helped any situation, especially a situation like this, which for your loss, I mean, that's a lot to deal with. That is overwhelming. I'm sorry for the loss and all that. But we have to look at this and say, is drinking going to bring them back? Is it going to make your mom feel better? Is it going to help with the finances? No, it's going to make it worse. It might get rid of the feelings, but what are you really running from?
Right.
Those feelings, I mean, they're natural. That's part of life. Like, I look at it, and I look at deaths in the family, and we've had some pretty close ones. We just had one last week, and we had some pretty close ones as well throughout my sobriety. And I look at it in a different light, where before it was like, wow, they're taken from me. I look at it as, wow, I got to spend this time with this person. Like, what a blessing is that, that somehow in this universe of madness, I got this person in my life, and that's great. So it's just flipping the way that you look at it.
Right.
Now, Gamer's got a question. He says, I'm the type that if I drink one beer, I'm going to drink nonstop till I pass out. Pretty much how I am, too. I feel I've accepted that fact that I must not drink, period. That's a great fact to accept. Got to accept that there will be things and people I must give up. Yeah, and that's true. Some things you do have to give up.
And you know, one thing with that is what I found when I quit drinking. I definitely didn't go out to the bars with my drinking friends anymore.
Mm.
Obviously, I had to give that up,
Yep.
and I still don't. But you know what? A lot of those friends are, well, all of them are still my friends. We still keep in contact, you know, Facebook friends or whatever. But you know, I see him at the store or something. We talk. And quite a few of them, I do non-alcoholic activities with them, like going hiking or on a bike riding, things like that. And you know, we may go out to lunch and they'll have a beer and I have a Coke or whatever. But you'll be amazed that you won't lose as many of those good old friends that you thought you'd lose.
Yeah, it's not nearly as bad as you would think it is. And I think, remember that the alcoholic brain lies to you, and it lies to you to get what it wants, which is more alcohol. And you have to be mindful of that because it's going to tell you all kinds of things because it wants what it wants. It's like that little lizard brain that's like, hey, I need to go eat the chicken or whatever lizards eat. I know here in Florida we have gators that eat chickens. I don't think lizards do. They eat frogs or something. But that brain is so focused on instant gratification, and I want what I want right now, and nothing's going to stop me. And going against the grain is sometimes difficult to do, but you can do it. You just need to train yourself and say, nope, we're not going to do this. We're going to sit down now. It's like my dog. She jumps up and jumps up and jumps up, and you have to train her. Hey, no, stay down there. If you jump up here, you're going to get pushed down again. And eventually she learns. She jumps up less now, which is good, unless she gets a crazy puppy high or whatever they get when they get all that that energy. But it comes with training it. So train your brain to think differently. Train your brain to be different. And that's what the Sober Letters over at TalkSober.com are about, is helping you train your brain to think different, putting new thoughts and new words in your brain so that you have something else to go to, right? You're naturally going to want to go to what has worked. And in the past, what has worked is avoiding feelings with alcohol. And that's always going to be a solution until you give it a better solution. And that's what we're about, is giving you a better solution. What's a better solution than drinking? So hopefully that helps.
Right on.
All right. So any last-minute questions about dealing with the family throughout holidays, dealing with alcohol throughout the holidays, let us know. And also, just to kind of let us know where our listeners are from, type in where you're listening from, if you're in the UK or Florida like me or California like Terry, where you're listening from. That way we get a good kind of overview of how everyone's doing, where they're at.
We have Nilda from Chicago. I see that.
Oh, cool. There
And
we go.
then we have a UK. I thought, where was that UK one? I can't find it.
There he is, J.A., and then we had someone
Jay?
from Florida and San Jose. So, yeah, it's good to see where everyone's listening from.
Helena, Montana.
There you
Beautiful
go.
place.
I've been to Wyoming, but not Montana. We got someone from Iowa, Arizona. Cool.
Phoenix and Massachusetts.
There you go.
Right on.
Awesome.
Good.
All right, so any last-minute questions? We got John from Northern Ireland. Cool. I've always wanted to visit Ireland. Looks like a cool place, and I love the music. I think
Yeah.
it Celtic or Celtic music? Celtic, I think it is.
Celtic.
Yeah, cool music.
Right on.
All right, cool. So any last-minute pressing questions about anything related to alcohol, let us know. and we'll try our best to help you out. And then I will be on next week at 11, since everyone said that was a good idea. I'll be on to help you guys out. I'll try to plan something, or maybe we'll get a guest or something, or maybe if one of you guys wants to share as well, you can do that. All you need is a Skype connection, and you can be on screen, or you can just be your voice, however you want to do it as well. But we'd like to get more interactive with that too.
Absolutely.
All right. So we can sing or something while we wait for questions.
Looks like nobody has too many questions. So, the key is remember that you're responsible for your own sobriety. It's you.
Yeah.
Lots of other people may want you to get sober, but really, you're the one that has to put in the work. And think about how much effort you put into drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put in less than half that effort in staying sober, you have a great chance of staying sober. But especially in that early sobriety, it's important to learn the tools. And we have a lot of tools on our talksober.com, and that's not the only place to get them. Look everywhere you can to try and stay sober. It can be a difficult thing, but for me, it wasn't that difficult to get sober. It was difficult to get through the detox, but it wasn't that difficult once I got through it to stay sober.
Yeah.
So there's a lot you can do. It's just more. It's more. Like rehab is all you have all this work to do, and it's in a short amount of time, and it's very necessary for many people to go through rehab. Once you get through that, it's more of a maintenance program. You have to just constantly do work. It's not constantly 24 hours a day. You do have to be aware all day long, but it's not that difficult to stay sober.
Yeah, it really isn't. It really comes down to a fight with your mind. You look at something, and usually once you've been sober, a month or 2 months or whatever, when we look at it, it's usually something that we decide to drink over. Like, I lost my job, I got in a fight with a spouse, I did this. Maybe, Thanksgiving, screw it, I'm with my family anyway, and whatever. And that's kind of what usually sets it off. But if we can intersect that, and I remember years ago I was having what was it? My train of thought left. Someone mentioned Irvine, and I grew up in Irvine, so my thought went there. Yeah, it was a battle about something. Where was I with that? Maybe it'll come back to me.
I lost you.
Yeah, but Jones says grateful in Irvine, California. I grew up in Irvine, so that's cool. He says our videos has helped him quite a bit, so that's awesome. Glad you guys like that. Jimmy says, sometimes I'm not sure if my sales cubicle job contributes to some of my alcohol weekend binges and depression, anxiety, or maybe it's vice versa. What do you think? Well, that's going to have to do with you. I know that high-pressure sales work is very stressful, or can be if you choose to make it stressful. And a lot of people drink, a lot of people do drugs and other stuff in those kinds of environments. So it's up to you to decide whether it's worth it to stay there or not. But if you're drinking on the weekends, I think it's probably something else. Right? Just figure out why it is you're drinking on the weekend. Is it to digress? Can you do something else to digress? Maybe go golfing, or sit in a hot tub, or sauna, or go exercise or something, and look at that. Now, depression and anxiety, I think alcoholism definitely contributes to that. I know it does. It did for me. So I would take the drinking out of the picture, and then figure out your job when you're sober. I think that's the best way to do it, because then at least you'll have your job and finances still. And with the alcohol out of the way, it's like, I remember in rehab, he said something about gives everything the 4 seasons rule. Quit drinking, try it out for 4 seasons, see what happens. If you think it's your spouse or significant other that causes you to drink or whatever, not that it causes, but maybe that helps or whatever. Maybe look at that and say, well, I could stay sober and stay married for a year and see how it goes. You know, and if you get in 6 months sober and you're like, I can't do this, well, then decide then. But everything can wait. Nothing needs to happen right now except for your sobriety, because your sobriety is what affects everything. So my advice to that would be get sober and then deal with it. Anything to chime in on that one, Terry?
Right there, the depression and anxiety. What helps me the most is that simple gratitude list. And when I'm talking gratitude, I'm talking about like thinking about the things in life, well, maybe that I have, but also more importantly, the things I get to do.
Yeah.
I mean, like I get to be on this webinar, and hopefully I get to help some people. But I get to go on my bike and ride a bike. A lot of people can't do that. I get to hike. I get to walk my dogs. I get to spend time with my wife. I get to do things that may not be so great. Like I lost my mom in September, but I got to be there in her last days. And my dog died 2 weeks ago. I got to be there for my dog and take care of her for her last time. And this weekend I get to go up to Seattle and visit my dad. He's in the twilight of his life as well. But these things they really help me with my depression, anxiety, whether it's a positive or a negative. Being sober, I get to do these things in a positive, productive way. So that's what helps me with my depression and anxiety.
And you're in America. I mean, we have everything at our fingertips. And we look at it, and I think some of it sometimes is just we have time to be depressed. And you look at people in other countries that are looking for like water and food and, basic needs. And be grateful that you are privileged, and maybe figure out a way to help those people. I think that a lot of depression and anxiety is getting the focus off yourself.
Right.
I know for me, I'm a very selfish person. I want to think about myself. I think the world revolves around me. If I get in traffic, it's all about where I need to go. It's not about the guy up there who maybe lost his leg in a car wreck. It's about, hey, where do I need to go? And it's like, dude, seriously, chill. Maybe that's a blessing in disguise for me to sit here and reflect.
Mm-hmm.
And we look at that, and our society is so prone to promoting anxiety and depression and me, and now, get me what I want. Stop here and get this food that tastes the exact same every day, or stop and get this, or, grab a beer when I need to feel relaxed. And what we need to do is learn to be relaxed in and of ourselves. And it's in there, right? The alcohol doesn't create it. It just puts down all the defenses so that you can relax. Learn to put those defenses down yourself and say, you know what? I don't have to think about this right now. I don't have to stew about an argument all day. I don't have to go through every sentence I said at the meeting. I can just sit here and be okay because, like the Serenity Prayer says, that's something I can't change. It's done. There we go. Let's accept it. Let's work on the things we can change. What can I change? I can change my gratitude. I can change my thoughts. I can change the way I live and love in the world and the things that I do. And when we look at that, the whole world starts to change, because I am not the be-all, end-all. And one of the most important things I learned in rehab is the world didn't stop without me in it for 30 days.
Right.
And I don't know how that felt for you, Terry, but for me, I was like, wow. I do internet business, and I'm like, the internet didn't shut down without me? No, they don't care. You mean
That's
no
right.
one had like a party that Marcus went to? No one cared. No one cared. I mean, I got a lot of good thoughts on my blog of people saying, yay, go get sober.
Right.
But other than that, it
I had
wasn't.
lots of support. I was worried about my dog because I lived alone. Everything was taken care of, except nobody mowed the lawn for a month.
There you go. Which in California, it doesn't grow much anyway. So
Oh, it grew like crazy.
yeah. But yeah, that's what you want to look at, because we all have everything we need in and of ourselves. You
Right.
don't need to go look for it outside. It's in you, and that's, in my view, that's the way that we're made. That's the way
Right.
that whoever or whatever made us to be. And you have it. You have relaxation in you. You have calm in you. You have the ability to just shut down and say, you know what, I'm going to be okay right now. Things might seem crazy, but hey, we're in the storm. Like years ago, I had a buddy, and his parents actually sailed from England to the U.S. when he was a baby. And they were telling me the story of what it was like. And they're like, sometimes the storm would get so bad, you just put the sail down and you'd go to bed because you can't do anything. You can't turn. You can't do anything. The storm was just bad. And sometimes in life, we need to put the sail down and we need to just go metaphorically to bed and say, hey, you know what? There's certain things I can't control. Like right now, you got people flipping out about political stuff. And, if you watch the news enough, you probably will flip out. I notice my thoughts change when I get into that. But there's not a whole lot you can do about certain things. And if you really did care that much, you'd be doing a lot more than you're doing right now. So a lot of it is a mental circle jerk of, hey, I'm going to do better, I'm going to feel better, I'm going to do this. When in reality, it's like, you know what? I need to go, and I need to go down below the deck, and I need to just tune out for a while and chill and realize what can I change, what can't I change, and how can I be different. So I hope that little tangent helped someone.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Cool. All right, so we got 5 minutes left. If you guys got a last question, we got Life Jones says, it's just as easy to say sober hour by hour, day by day, as it is to decide to take the first drink again. Yeah, and one thing I find is make it hard to drink. Make it really difficult. Like, make it hard for yourself.
Yeah, one of the basic points that I should have probably made as well is, especially if you're in early sobriety, don't have any alcohol in your house. If you're able to do that at all, get rid of it.
Yeah.
That'll at least that'll make it so you have to go through some effort to get that first drink, rather than just having it right there in front of you. Not always that easy to do because you have other family that may be drinking, but.
Yeah, and I remember there got a point in my sobriety where I would still think I wanted alcohol, but it was too much work to go get. And I loved that because it was like, yeah, I don't really feel like it. And it's too much work to get up and go get it. And that was kind of cool, because then it was more hassle than it was worth, which I remember, in the depths of my alcohol, I would drink cooking wine, which is the most wretched thing to drink. Don't do it. Bad. And here I am saying, hey, it's too much work to go get whatever I want. So I thought that was kind of a cool mindset change. All right, so we will see you guys next week, unless there's any last-minute questions or comments. It will be 11 o'clock before Thanksgiving. That way you got some armor to take with you to the old Thanksgiving. Hopefully, I think for most of you guys, it is before the time, which is good. One of the benefits of being on the East Coast here. And, yeah, let's take it from there. Keep an eye out. I'm finishing up my sobriety book. We're going to put that on Amazon as soon as it's done, and you guys can get that. Hopefully we can get that to get it really popular so that a lot of people can be benefited by that. I'll let you know when that is out, and we'll give you guys a link and everything like that. And, yeah, everything looks pretty good. So stay sober.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
And we'll talk soon.